Hello, I'm making this video to explain what I think is going on with LeChuck. I feel like I've figured out most of his behavior. So, right now, you see ScamVM, and you see a black window. That's the ScamVM status window. So, this version of ScamVM has been modified to, first of all, show what the RNG is doing, or rather, which RNG calls are made, and I'm gonna explain a little bit about that later. And also, in order to not call the RNG every frame, because in normal ScamVM there is uh, this feature where the RNG is called very frequently to make things unpredictable. So in this version, only the RNG calls made by the game specifically are left. That makes figuring this kind of stuff out very, very easy in comparison. No, totally easy. Anyway, let's go directly to this save. In this save, we are about to get warped. This is the first warp of LeChuck. As you know, um, the beginning of the LeChuck section starts with a dialogue and then a forced warp. So this warp we have to take, LeChuck will always warp us. So as soon as I load, let me pause and let's figure out what happened. As you can see, there are two RNG calls right now. There are gonna be more. I'm gonna talk about them later as soon as I unpause. These two we can you can basically imagine them of being just one, because I'm gonna explain. These RNG calls are about where we need to be sent. So as you can see, and now I'm gonna explain how to read this off. The first line is the first RNG call. So the result was a 5, and the game asked the RNG function a number between 0 and 8 included. So 5 of 8 basically means the result is a 5 out of 8 possible values. Not really, it is 9 possible values. 0 to 8 included it means 9 possible values. But 8 is basically the maximum. We got a 5 of a maximum of 8. This value is the room we get warped in. There are 9 rooms possible, and the way they are numbered doesn't really matter, but just to explain briefly, 0 to 4, I think, are the rooms not in the corridor. So 0 is inside of the elevator, 1 is the helium tank room, 2 is the box room, and 3, actually, okay, 0 to 3. 3 is the infirmary room. Now 4, and this is where we got worse. So as you can see, 4 of 8 is this room, the one in the corridor all the way to the left. And then every other room in the corridor is in order. So 5 would be the room in front of the elevator, 6 would be the room in front. Sorry, 5 would be the room in front. In front of the elevator. 6, the one in front of the helium tank room, 7 in front of the box room, and 8 in front of the infirmary room. Now, what happened here is that the game rolled the die, 5 came out, 5 wasn't available though, because we were already in that room. The first warp, we and LeChuck are in front of the elevator. We are in that room, the one that is on the right of where we are now. So obviously that room cannot be taken. LeChuck will never warp you exactly where you are. So if that room is selected, the game just tries again. Also, every room in the corridor is always available, unless again it is the exact room you start from. The rooms that are not in the corridor are only available if you have visited them. Right now, I cannot get warped to, for instance, inside of the elevator or inside of the box room. I need to visit them first, I need to walk there first, and then they become available. So if the RNG rolled like a 3 of 8, that room is not in the corridor. So because I have yet to visit it, the game just re-rolls. Okay, so that's the first part. Every warp, this is gonna happen. Now, let's unpause. Another number is rolled. This is a 0 of 1. This decides how LeChuck should behave. So, if we roll a 0 of 1, or rather, if you roll a 0, because it's not always out of 1. We are gonna explain it about it later. If we roll a 0, then we get a slow LeChuck, which we're gonna see in a moment. Then let me just talk about another thing that happens. The first warp, after the first one, and only the first one, as you can see, there are no more RNG calls. And that's because until we change room, so we walk to another room, the game is not gonna try to spawn LeChuck. But that only happens after the first warp. You're gonna see that after the second, third, and whatever warps, things are gonna behave differently. Anyway, with that said, let's try to walk to a different room. This also means another thing. There's another mechanic. When you change room, as soon as Guybrush stops walking, I think, or maybe, I don't know, after a little bit, after you change room, then the game tries to spawn LeChuck. So now the game is gonna roll again. As you see, the game rolled again. It rolled a 5 out of 10. Okay, so let's explain how LeChuck spawns. So now the game is gonna roll some numbers out of 10, and only if the number is 0, then LeChuck spawns. Why out of 10? This is related to how LeChuck behaves. And this is related to the number before. So remember, as I said before, the game rolled a 0 out of 1 that determines how LeChuck behaves. And this is one of the two things that is dictated by LeChuck's behavior. So a slow LeChuck rolls dice that have 11 faces. So they go from 0 to 10. And only if you get a 0, then LeChuck spawns. Or rather can spawn. There is still a way to prevent LeChuck from spawning even if you get a 0. I'm gonna talk about it later if I remember to, because it's such a small detail. Anyway, this is one thing. The other thing is how frequently the game checks if it should spawn LeChuck. If I remember correctly, but we can time it. Let me bring out live split. Let me time it. If you get a slow LeChuck, then LeChuck can spawn only after every 13 seconds or something similar to that. So now we have live split ready. We can test it out. So let me wait for another check. It's gonna take a while. Okay, it's actually 8 seconds. Okay. I was mistaken. I think 13 was another thing when I was trying to manipulate the LeChuck. Anyway, around 8 seconds. Okay, when you get a slow LeChuck. Now let's fast forward a little bit until we get a spawn. Okay. Another thing to notice is that you're seeing a lot. As soon as LeChuck spawns, you're seeing a lot of numbers. These are all related to LeChuck's animation. So if I unpause, you're gonna see more. They don't really matter. Oh, let me skip this animation. Okay. Now, this is the important part. LeChuck spawned us in the 7th room, so 7 out of 8. And then a 2 out of 2 was rolled. Oh, okay. Sorry. That 2 out of 2 was just an animation thing again. The 0 out of 2 is the important part. This, again, dictates how LeChuck will behave. But if you remember, before it was a 0 out of 1, not a 0 out of 2. So why the change? This is the stuff that was very recently figured out. So again, this check, if it is a 0, we have a slow LeChuck. If it is not a 0, we have a fast LeChuck. So what the game does is that if you got two slow LeChucks in a row, then it makes it so this check is not a 0 out of 1 anymore, but it is a 0 out of 2. So it is more likely that you will end up with a fast LeChuck. Because if it rolls a 1 or a 2, then you get a fast LeChuck. If you get two fast LeChuck in a row, then this check becomes a 0 out of 0, or it becomes an out of 0. So, well, the only value possible then is 0, and you're forced to get a slow LeChuck. So that's how I think it works. We can test it out. Now my live split, I binded my pause for live split to spacebar, so it's gonna behave in weird ways. But let's just go on. Just move till the chuck spawns. Hopefully it's not gonna take too long. But again, we got a slow one, a slow LeChuck, so it might take a while. Come on, I know you can do it. Okay. Another thing to this thing is annoying. Another thing to notice is that after LeChuck spawns, there's a 1 of 1 here. This 1 of 1, I think, doesn't matter much, but I think it decides from which door LeChuck will spawn. So 0 is the door on the left, 1 is the door on the right. Having said that, let's... Okay. Okay. So let's see what happened. Because we were getting slow LeChucks one after the other, the check was still at an out of 2, and this time we got a 2 out of 2, so we got a fast LeChuck. Now we have a fast LeChuck. And it is an out of 4, so there is a 1 in 5 chance that LeChuck will spawn. Let's time it. It's 5 seconds instead of 8. Now the game does a check every 5 seconds instead of every 8 seconds. And also every check is more likely to work. Now, let's see. What else should I talk about? Well, let's talk about the elevator. Okay, fine. The check showed up. Sure. Let me get back to the elevator because this. Come on, man. Fine. Yeah, now you understand why runners find this annoying, right? Anyway, yeah, you're gonna notice the... Ooh, okay. Yeah, I forgot. I think when you're in the elevator, checks are more frequent, but only if you have the means to trap the chuck. So yeah, let's play how the game should be played, I guess. Let's get all of the ingredients, and let's obviously click out of the game. Okay, and there's one thing that I can show you here. So LeChuck here tried to spawn actually, but I prevented him because I'm standing next to the door where LeChuck should spawn. Let's see if I can make it happen again. Oh, apparently not. But yeah, you can prevent the LeChuck from spawning if you stand exactly to the door. So yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, let's continue. Let's continue because apparently I need to actually play the game in order to show you the rest. We're almost there. There's not much else to explain, but there are a couple of interesting uh, things that the game does. Oh, come on. So the first thing is that as soon as you use this coin trail and you make the coin fall, actually, you know what? Let me change something in lights because this is quite annoying. Let's see. Settings. Uh, uh, let's do something like this. Oh, come on, he didn't save. Settings. Okay. Okay, now I can pause the game and live speed doesn't act off. So, yeah. The interesting part about LeChuck, did you see that? The 0 out of 0? Basically, when you make the coin fall, the game forces LeChuck to spawn. It doesn't mean the LeChuck spawns immediately. The frequency at which the game checks for LeChuck to spawn doesn't get it doesn't change. So if it was a slow LeChuck, it's gonna be a slow LeChuck. If it was a fast LeChuck, it's gonna be a fast LeChuck. So it's gonna check every 5 or 8 seconds. But every check is gonna work because instead of checking out of 10 or out of 5, sorry, out of 4, it checks an out of 0, which means that obviously the result is gonna be 0. If you roll a die that has only one face, you're gonna get that face. So it forces a LeChuck spawn. With that said, let me play the rest of the game. Actually, you know what? Um, I'm I'm purposefully not gonna do everything I need to do. I'm not gonna um use the N key with LeChuck, which means that I'm not gonna have every item that I need to have. Why do I want to do this? I want to see what happens in the elevator. Because there's another exception, like there's an additional rule in the elevator, which I want to check. Before, when I entered the elevator, you saw that nothing really changed. The game behaved as normal. But, and let me reload. Yeah, as you can see, now that I have the balloon and the gloves, so I am able to solve the puzzle in the elevator. You have to have those items in order for the elevator to work, because you need to make yourself light. Otherwise, the elevator doesn't work. Now that I can use the elevator, and the puzzle is to use the elevator when LeChuck shows up, because that way you make his beard get stuck and you can retrieve it. Now that I can do that, the spawning rule for LeChuck changes, but only when I am in the elevator. LeChuck becomes very fast. The game does one check like every second or so. We will time it now. Don't worry. And also, it is an out of 1, so it is a perfect coin toss. Every check, there's a 50-50 that LeChuck will show up. Let me reload. I wasn't ready. Let me reload, and I need to reload when LeChuck doesn't show up. Yeah, it's about like 1.5 seconds between every check. So that's pretty fast. And that's basically it. I think I think um this extends to Like even if you do this and then we go back down, I think LeChuck is still gonna show up very frequently. Yeah, a 0 out of 1. As you can see, even if we did the puzzle, because we have yet to retrieve the beard, LeChuck still, like the game still thinks, okay, you're in the elevator and you can use the elevator and you have yet to get the beard. So we are gonna give you every chance possible for LeChuck to show up, which means that LeChuck tries to show up every second or so, and every time it's a perfect coin toss instead of the usual 1 out of 5 chances or 1 out of 10 out of 11 chances. And that's it. I think that's it. Took me a while to figure all of this stuff out, and I really think that's the entirety of it. There's more RNG, of course, like the coin that LeChuck uh, gets is RNG. If you know, you know. When you drop the coin, LeChuck says something like, "Hey, it's a double eagle" or something else. That's obviously RNG. There's a lot of RNG with animations, with LeChuck animations, for instance, but you can skip most of it by holding S when he shows up. And you saw a wall here of RNG in the elevator. But for Manips, this is consistent. The elevator is always gonna call the same number of RNG. And these RNGs are if LeChuck needs to say something. It's very funny. I can show you. As soon as he shows up. It's not showing up. Okay. So let me pause. You're gonna see LeChuck scream using different phrases. The ow, a, these kind of phrases. This is the RNG part. This is the wall of RNG that you see here. That's it. I think that's it. If there's anything new, anything else, I don't know, man. I tried. This is what I figured out, and I really believe there's nothing else.